It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in as we continue our medical discussion with something that is quite groundbreaking. Now, weight loss is one of the biggest concerns, I think, in most people's lives, especially at the start of a new year. Many people go to extremes in order to lose weight, and some even opt for invasive surgery like liposuction, or even go as far as a gastric bypass, which, of course, we know comes with a series of risks. So this morning, we are going to get a different perspective. We're joined by Allan Scott, who is an author, a speaker, a radio man, an entrepreneur. And a few years ago, he entered the cosmetic industry with a very unique treatment which offers a solution to weight loss that involves no invasive surgery at all. I've noticed you nodding your head to your Siri as long as my arm. Great to have you back in the country. I know you're now based in the UK. Give us a bit of background. How did you find your way why did you leave this slice of heaven, first of all? And how have you found your way to your current position?
Interesting question. I originally loved Cape Town. It was my favorite place in the world. But I felt like a small fish in a small pond, and I wanted to be a small fish in the ocean. I wanted to be Nemo. I wanted to travel as far as I can, see as much as I can. And there was that time when you got that 2-year visa to go to the United Kingdom to find out more. I traveled over, I got into events, an industry I'd never done in Southern Africa, and did incredibly well. My dad was still based here in Cape Town, and he couldn't find a job. He couldn't find what to do or how he was going to get into anything. And we aren't a normal family. We watch things like Doctor and plastic surgery shows. And he always said, aesthetics, if you could be a plastic surgeon, it'd be the greatest job in the world, except liposuction sucks.
Yeah.
And we looked into it, and re-education was not a possibility. And aesthetic medicine in 2009, which is when I started getting into it, was really coming into the forefront.
In fact, cusp, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Body contouring is now bigger than any other industry within aesthetic medicine. So we started at a good time. There was this thing called, at the time, it was called cryogenic lipolysis. Cryolipolysis.
Yeah, I've been trying to wrap my mouth around that the whole morning, yeah.
I thought I'd save you saying that. And now we just call it fat freezing. And saw this, realized that when mobile phones came out, they started out as big things in bags, and we got them smaller and smaller and smaller. So I would get one of these machines, we'd break it apart, we'd make it smaller, and we'd start right here in my hometown of Cape Town.
I have to ask, how does the process actually work? We've been talking about a lot of new tech that's out there at the moment, so I'm envisioning something quite sci-fi in my head, but how does the process actually work?
So as you can see from here, cryolipolysis as it stands actually works the moment the body is lowered temperature than your normal 36.5 degrees Fahrenheit. And I apologize for talking in Fahrenheit because I know we're now in
That's all right.
Celsius.
We'll forgive you. Yeah, we got you back. It's fine.
The fat is pulled in. The actual fat that we work on is subcutaneous fat.
Yeah.
The theory being, if we can squeeze it, we can freeze it. So if you can grab a piece of fat, best fat is flank, inside of the thighs, outside of the thighs, and lower back. Here we work
in the areas that we're most concerned about, I suppose. Yeah.
Absolutely, muffin tops, bingo wings. We pull the fat into the applicator over there. There's 2 plates on either side of the handle. And as the fat is held in, it's warmed up first and then begins to cool down over 30 to 45 minutes. As it's cooling, the fat cells are separating, something called popsicle pentylitis. I'm sure Dr. Robert Green is listening, saying I'm mispronouncing it. And then separates from the rest of the tissue, which slowly begins to die in something called an apoptic death. And as that sort of leaves and separates, the lymphatic system grabs it kind of like a wave, which is what our machine's called, that washes it through the system and gets rid of, pretty much secretes the fat out of the system.
How quickly do you get results? Because I would imagine in this field, people want that kind of instantaneous gratification. Do you get it in this instance?
So you do and you don't. I'm probably the worst person because I'm incredibly transparent. So you can see an incredible result, for example, on this patient. She's 54, she has an active lifestyle, she's yoga. This was actually in the Hamptons in New York. And why we such a great result is because the water has immediately left the skin, giving that nice flush feel of the blood returning to the area. We've broken down the fat with a 5-minute massage at the end of it, and beautiful results. In fact, our first ever logo was 1 session, 1 inch, because you'd immediately see results. but the true results are seen over 3 months.
Okay, but that's still not a very long period.
No.
You know, when dealing with this kind of technology meeting the organic, meeting the human body, new technology as well, we don't know how much testing has gone into it. I'm sure you've done your homework. Are there negative side effects? What are the dangers with this sort of thing? Because surely you have to explore every avenue when you approach a business like this.
Absolutely. So what you have is localized swelling, which you can see over there. You have localized reddening, which can occur from obviously the fact that the fat has been pulled into the applicator for long periods of time. There can be some numbness, but that's about it. Because it's so quick, because it's a natural process, we don't have to worry about things like skin laxity. You know, when you lose a lot of weight, you talked about bariatric medicine, the cutting of the stomach. That immediate loss of fat causes that hanging skin, that hanging tissue. And the fact that this happens naturally over 16 weeks means that the skin tightens around the area, and it's a natural process.
Lets the body adjust naturally. Just very, very quickly, lastly, because my first thought, very expensive. Who is your regular client? Who is your ideal client? Is this something that's accessible to the general South African?
Absolutely. When we first looked at this, the prices were ridiculous. They were super expensive, and I think the idea was that the technology was so hard to get. The plates have to be titanium, which allows for the cooling to move perfectly. But because of the fact that we're all connected, thanks to social media, thanks to the ability to get someone in Korea instead of someone in the US and vice versa, it's now an incredibly affordable procedure. You're looking at, and I've got to remember rands, so forgive me, anything from 3,000 rand to 12,000 rand.
Okay, when you weigh that up against invasive cosmetic surgery, it really does come to the fore. Jason, thank you for flying that South African flag abroad.
Thank you very
much. Good to
much.
have you back in SA, and all the best. I'm sure the wave is yet to break for you, in fact. So enjoy the success to come, and all the best for the new year.
Thank you very much.
Well, there is an option that is non-invasive, a way that you can possibly look at treating that additional fat in your system in a way that is still relatively healthy, but really is cutting edge.